Have you ever really looked, really looked, at an old postage stamp? It's not just a tiny piece of paper you stick on a letter. Nope, it's a time capsule. And today we are prying open the lid on one of the most beloved sets of American stamps ever made.
Oh, a ton, it turns out. These aren't just for postage. They're basically little historical artifacts. They can tell you all sorts of things about a country's identity, its design trends, and even what life was like during some of the most intense moments in history. All right, first things first. Let's meet the stars of our show, the 1938 Presidential Series. These guys were so popular with collectors, they even got their own nickname. Say hello to the Prexies. You know, that name wasn't official or anything. It was just something collectors came up with back in the 1940s, and it totally stuck. It just goes to show how much people loved this series, and to this day, it's one of the most famous and studied sets in American stamp collecting.
So, what was the big deal? What made them so special? Well, it all started with a design concept that was just elegantly simple, and frankly, kinda genius.
Okay, check this out. The system was based on 3 super smart principles. 1. Feature the US presidents. Simple enough. 2. Line them up in the exact chronological order they served. And 3, this is the brilliant part, make the stamp's value match the president's number in that lineup. So clean, so logical.
And this system just worked beautifully. The 1-cent stamp, that's for the first president, George Washington. The 3-cent stamp featured the 3rd president, Thomas Jefferson. The 16-cent, you already know, right? Of course, it's Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president. It was a perfect, easy-to-understand system.
Now, of course, there were a couple of exceptions. To fill some really important postal rate gaps that were missing, they added Benjamin Franklin, Martha Washington, and the White House to the series. So, not presidents, but they were absolutely crucial to make the series practical for everyday mail.
But here's the thing. These stamps weren't just sitting pretty in collectors' albums. No way. They were out there in the real world, serving as the absolute workhorse of the mail system during a really pivotal time in history.
Just look at this timeline. It really puts their service into perspective. The Prexies were the longest-running definitive series, that's the standard everyday stamps, of the entire 20th century. They came out in 1938, and they carried the mail all the way through World War II and the Korean War. They were finally retired in 1954. That's 16 years as the constant, quiet workhorses of American mail.
And just think about what that really means for a second. These tiny little stamps were stuck on V-Mail. You know, those microfilm letters that saved precious cargo space for war supplies? They were on censored envelopes coming from the front lines, and on those priceless letters from prisoners of war. Every single one is a tangible connection to that moment in history. But okay, beyond that public history, the Prexies have a secret life. And this is where collectors get really excited, because when you start to look closer, a whole new world of detail just opens right up. Because for a true collector, a stamp is never just a stamp. It's a puzzle, right? And the Prexies are this fantastic puzzle to solve, just filled with these tiny little variations that tell a much bigger story about how they were made and used. So here's one of the first secrets you learn as a collector. Not all Prexies are created equal. Some were sold in big sheets, so they have perforations, those little punch holes, on all 4 sides. But others, the ones made for vending machines, they came in long rolls. So these coil stamps only have perforations on 2 opposite sides. It's a tiny detail that makes a huge difference.
And trust me, the treasure hunt does not stop there. You can find different shades of the same color, like the 3-cent Jefferson. The really high-value dollar stamps were printed in 2 colors, which was a more complicated process. Some were sold in little booklets, and hey, if you ever find a Prexie that was accidentally printed on watermarked paper that wasn't supposed to be used, you've basically hit the jackpot. That's a rare error, a real collector's prize.
Now, speaking of prizes, there is one stamp in this series that every single collector wants to find. It's the key to the entire set.
And here it is, the $5 Calvin Coolidge. It's pretty simple, really. Because it was such a high value back then, they just didn't print nearly as many of them compared to the 1-cent or 3-cent stamps. So to complete a collection of Prexies, you have to have this one. That makes it the most valuable and sought-after piece of the puzzle.
So I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds really complicated, maybe expensive, right? Well, that is what's so amazing about the Prexies. They are so incredibly accessible. Let's take a look at what it actually costs to get started.
Okay, get ready for this because this is fantastic. You can get a complete set of all 32 stamps in used condition
for around $20. 20! Even that big prize, the $5 Coolidge stamp, in perfect mint condition, can usually be found for about 25 bucks. And a full set of brand new mint stamps, around $60. This isn't some hobby just for the ultra-rich. It's a piece of history that pretty much anyone can own.
So that's really the crucial point here. The Prexies have this wonderful dual identity. They are simple enough for a brand new collector to get totally hooked, but they're also complex enough to give a seasoned expert a lifetime of study. They truly are the perfect stamp series.
And that brings us right back to where we started. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Go look in that old shoebox of letters your family has in the attic. You might just find a Prexie, and with it, a tangible connection to a story that's just waiting to be told. What history is hiding in your own family's mail?